Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast, your filthy casual place for all those filthy casual takes on the world of sports. I am your host, DylanLasagna. This is episode number 160 of this icy yet spicy sports podcast. Today, we got another good show for you all because we got another one of those late, out-of-date professional wrestling reviews on an event that happened this past weekend, but here we are talking about it 2 days later because, there are things in life that you cannot control, and, here we are. Now having a chance to talk about it. But anyway, we're here with episode 160 to talk about perhaps the biggest event that AEW has ever held so far, and that is All In London 2023. So this is the spiritual successor to the first ever All In event that was technically not related to AEW, but it did lead to the formation of All Elite Wrestling back in 2018. So this was announced beforehand, all the way back in April. Probably well planned several months beforehand. But here we are now, 4 months later, and Sunday was the day on August 27th, 2023, and it's kind of crazy where things are now with AEW. Regardless how you feel about AEW, where it's positive, negative, indifferent. This was kind of a big day for AEW. It was like the big litmus test on how they were gonna do in their first ever stadium show. So we're gonna get into the nitty gritty of this show, AEW All In 2023. Before we do, a little bit of housekeeping per sorts. It's gonna be a big loaded week here on Very Cold Lasagna. So make sure you follow the show on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna to stay up to date on what's going on with the show, and catch all my random extra takes on Twitter as well. And if you're listening to the show on audio, make sure you leave a review and rate the show however you want to rate it. Your feedback means the world to me. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you click the like button, smash the subscribe button, and leave a comment with your own takes or your feedback on Very Cold Lasagna. And with the content coming up for the next few weeks, it's pretty straightforward. This coming week, it's a lot of wrestling content. It really is a lot. Aside from reviewing this pay-per-view All In, I got another retro review coming up for you guys. Actually, two of them, including later on this week, and another one on Saturday before Payback. And speaking of Payback, we're also going to be reviewing that pay-per-view and, as well as All Out, AEW All Out. So a lot of content coming up in the next coming week here on Very Cold Lasagna. And then after All Out, we're going to be beginning the NFL regular season. So we're going to be previewing week 1 of the NFL season. So definitely a lot on my plate, a lot on your plate, but I'm going to do my damnest to get it all for you. So grab that Very Cold Lasagna in the coldest fridge that you have, and sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. So with that being said, let's now talk about All In 2023. So like I said, this is kind of like the spiritual successor to the first ever All In event that was produced by Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks back in 2018 in Chicago, Illinois. It was kind of a success. It was a pretty successful event for them, and a couple months later, it led to the formation of AEW. So this event, the new All In that happened this past Sunday, it was planned several months prior, and then officially announced by Tony Khan back in April. And everyone was excited about it. Everyone was giddy about it because this was the first stadium show for AEW. And which stadium was it going to be in? London, England, in Wembley Stadium. So this show was titled All In London at Wembley Stadium. So this was kind of like the first event set for professional wrestling, like the first stadium event since SummerSlam 1992. So it was kind of a big deal, not just for pro wrestling, but a big deal for AEW because, like I said, countless times right now, that this is their first ever stadium show, and yeah, it was also a big test for them. And then when tickets went on sale, it was kind of like a sellout, or so it sold out, I guess. And then by the time you get to Showtime, they had 80,000 tickets, however you want to get into the debate, paid, distributed. They managed to have like an 80,000 fans in attendance. So that was the final number. Around 81,035 fans in attendance. Now, to note, there's just been this constant debate among fans, whether you're anti-AEW, pro-AEW, like you're in the middle, casual, hardcore fans, all if you care so much about like seats and all that. I mean, I personally don't really give a shit myself, but I mean, I'm just pointing out the things that have been surrounding this event. So there's been that constant debate of like the actual number of tickets sold and distributed and whatnot. Because, maybe AEW did inflate their numbers, or maybe that's the actual number they got because, WWE often inflates their ticket numbers, but who knows? I don't know. Either way, that's been the constant debate going on with this around this show. And then also happening around the show was kind of like the build-up towards All In for 2023. For as big of a show as this should feel like, I would check in to see how AEW is doing every now and then. But I gotta say, the build-up, other than one match, was kind of very disappointing, to say the least. You'd think that, sure, a couple of injuries played a role in it, but the build-up for this, your first ever stadium show, if you're AEW, has been very disappointing. It's like they should have been building towards this after Double or Nothing, and yet a lot of the card was built by August. They're doing the WWE route. They wait till either 4 weeks out till WrestleMania, or maybe even like 2 or a week before WrestleMania to get a match on there. It's like AEW. If you want to like differentiate yourself from WWE, then you can't be doing that kind of bullshit that they're doing too. It's like you have to build up your matches well more in advance. And this is coming from one of your biggest critics of AEW. You have to like build these up well in advance. And yet in recent months, in recent pay-per-views, they haven't been doing that. They've just been like, cramming these stories as close to the pay-per-view as possible. And for their biggest show ever, they did it again. And it also doesn't help the fact that All Out is literally the week after All In, which hurts it even more. It also hurts All Out because you didn't build towards that show. So what the hell are you doing? So anyway, you now get to the show itself. You have around 81,000 fans. You have around 11 matches, including 0 Hour, the pre-show. So let's talk about this show, shall we? Let's talk about 0 Hour, what happened on this show, with the pre-show for that matter. So on the 0 Hour pre-show, you had the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, Aussie Open, Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher, that's their names, going up against one of the interesting stories going on, probably the second most interesting story going on in professional wrestling other than the Bloodline. MJF and Adam Cole, better than you, baby. Basically what's going on with this match is mainly centered around Adam Cole and MJF because, the AEW World Champion MJF and Adam Cole had this rivalry going on ever since, I think it was in June when they fought to a draw on Dynamite and MJF didn't want to go an extra 5 minutes. And then afterwards, they were paired in this blind eliminator tag team tournament to determine FTR's opponents on an episode of Collision the next month. And then it was during this time when they're prepping for the tournament and then winning matches in the tournament. They initially started out as rivals, and then eventually they would become actual good friends. Like MJF wasn't bullshitting. He would actually legit be genuine friends with Adam Cole. And then Adam Cole would kind of feel the same way. So you had a lot of these crazy ass segments like MJF and Adam Cole going to Outback Steakhouse and MJF doing a kangaroo kick. And oh man, those segments were pretty crazy. And it is like in less than 2 months, it's like freaking wild. And then you had them test their friendship and after they lost the titles. And yeah, that was that's actually one of the strongest stories that AEW has told, if not the strongest that I've seen. So even though they lost that tag team title match, MJF would give Cole the world title match after he promised such when the whole tournament started. So that would be your main event. But what does the Ring of Honor tag team champions have to do with this? Well, Adam Cole felt like him and MJF could still be a championship tag team. And then they challenged Aussie Open, the Ring of Honor tag team champions, to this match on the pre-show, which they accepted. So, over the course of August, and then, of course, you had earlier in July, both men, they were teasing who would turn on the other heading into both this match and the main event. And, initially I would think that someone's going to turn. I mean, I personally thought it was going to be Adam Cole that was going to turn on MJF because personally from the little clips I saw on Twitter, MJF has kind of grown on me as a babyface. Like, we've seen how much he has done already as a bastard heel. So yeah, why not give him a shot at being a babyface for a long while? So it's a refreshing change of pace. So this match was fun. It was a short yet very simple and fun tag team match. It showcased just how silly and good this unexpected MJF and Adam Cole tag team has been. Sure, you had Aussie Open attack the Odd Couple before they did the boom in their entrance or the Adam Cole baby thing that they do. So MJF was getting attacked by the Aussie Open for a while, but then Adam Cole got in the hot tag, and then later on MJF, he was kind of hesitant to do a dive, like a suicide dive. And then Adam Cole, he tried to encourage him, and so did the crowd. And then, MJF wanted to do it, but then Aussie Open, they attacked him before they could do it. But, they encountered some friendly fire, Aussie Open, and MJF, after weeks of, trying to pull it off, he did the kangaroo kick. He did the actual kangaroo kick. He double kicked him. He double kangaroo kicked him. And then Adam Cole and MJF actually hit the double clothesline on Kyle Fletcher to actually win. They actually won the Ring of Honor tag team titles. No bullshit. I was like, wow. I thought either one of them was going to turn. I thought it was going to be Adam Cole that was going to turn in the pre-show. But no, they actually won the tag team titles. So I actually like that. I actually liked that they didn't turn in the title match, in this tag title match. Maybe it was being saved for later on, but this was fun. This is a fun way to start the show, the pre-show at least. So now you had the FTW champion Jack Perry take on Hook. Jack Perry was kind of like in this new heel gimmick. So he's not doing the Jungle Boy Jack stuff anymore, and he was like in this heel gimmick. So I don't really know what's going on with Jack Perry. I haven't really caught up with his new gimmick, but I do know when I saw his entrance, he's driving to Beethoven's music now. I don't know why, and he's in a suit. But I saw a promo as a heel. It's like, oh god, it's terrible. So anyway, he came into a limo, and I hope he's paying for that because he just stepped on it, leaving all those foot marks. Dude. And then later on, because I think it was under FTW rules, so I think that means no rules, false count anywhere. And yeah, Hook hit a fisherman suplex on Jack Perry, and he landed on the windshield. So it's Yeah, I hope he's paying for that. I hope Jack Perry's paying for that. And then, yeah, the finish saw Hook lock in the Taz mission on Jungle Boy Jack. No, not Jungle Boy Jack anymore. It's Jack Perry. And Jack Perry tapped out to regain the FTW title. So, yeah. I mean, this match was, it was whatever. I mean, I didn't really care for it because, I'm not too invested in either one of these guys. But, I mean, it had some early cool moments. But, I mean, there was something that did happen to Jack Perry for the wrong reasons, though. Behind the scenes, apparently what was going on with Jack Perry during All In is that reportedly he was in this backstage brawl with CM Punk. I mean, of course, CM Punk has to get into some shit, but there are a lot of conflicting reports on who started this fight and what caused this fight. There's the initial report stated that Jack Perry instigated it because they didn't want to do this glass spot on an episode of Collision like months ago. I don't know. And then CM Punk like choked him out, and then Samoa Joe denied it. I don't know. Either way, it's just like this whole mess. It's really this whole mess that I don't know why Tony Khan can't solve. Like, he's like running like a high school locker room. He really needs to get someone under control, to get these guys under control. Or if he, for whatever reason he can't, I don't know why you just can't fire CM Punk. Like, he doesn't draw in the ratings that you think he does. He doesn't draw the interest that people think he does anymore. And we'll talk about CM Punk in a bit, but I'm just saying, like, he is a cancer. He is a cancer to the locker room. Whether he starts fights, whether he starts beef or doesn't, he is clearly a problem in the locker room. Now, I'm not saying Jack Perry is going to be slid. I'm going to let him slide for what he did, because clearly, from what I've seen on Twitter and stuff, yeah, he clearly had an issue with something, and clearly he's not off the hook. So both sides are in the wrong. So whatever's going on, whether they're suspended or fired, Tony Khan needs to get this whole thing under control, because this has been going on for almost a year now. We're almost at the 1 year point of CM Punk's stupid bullshit from All Out last year. And this has clearly not been resolved. So I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't know what Tony Khan's going to do, because if he doesn't do something, this is going to lead to a lot of turmoil. And I'm not going to try to say it's going to lead to the downfall of AEW, because that would be a little bit too drastic, even though I kind of said that in the past, which would be kind of contradicting myself. But all I can say is he's got to get this locker room under control. He needs to get that testicular fortitude. If he can't do it, then I think he needs to get it. I think his dad needs to step in. Get Shahid Khan, whether he knows professional wrestling or not. He needs to step in and get this shit under control. So anyway, we get to the main card, the actual show itself. So people are now filed in. All those 81,000 people. There's still a little bit of daylight in London, mate. But yeah, the atmosphere, it's pretty good. Even though it's a lot of hardcore Smarky fans in there, but nonetheless, kind of a big accomplishment for AEW. So you kick off the show with the real world champion CM Punk going up against Samoa Joe. So staying on the topic of CM Punk, he made his return on the debut episode of Collision after, the All Out media scrum, and then he suffered an injury at that same event. And then weeks later, after he returned at Collision, he barely defeated longtime rival Samoa Joe for the first time in his career during the Owen Hart Cup tournament. So about a month later, Samoa Joe challenged CM Punk to a rematch for whatever reason. And while Punk didn't initially answer the challenge, Joe would kind of like go after him during a match that Punk had on Collision, and then Punk would retaliate to accept that challenge. So we had this match. I mean, I thought it was a decent match. That was pretty much dominated by Samoa Joe in pretty much all facets. Like, he was like out racing and out wrestling CM Punk. It looked pretty clear that from CM Punk's standpoint that once we got to the back half of this match, that he could not keep up with Samoa Joe. There were a couple of spots in this match that he was trying to set up, but it's like he couldn't. And when Samoa Joe was trying to do some spots himself for CM Punk, it's just like can't pull it off for reason. So there were a couple of nice spots here that I liked. You know, the meme with Samoa Joe just casually walking out of a diving move from his opponent. But CM Punk waited for the meme to happen, and then he hit a hurricanrana on Joe that sent him outside. But then Samoa Joe was able to do the meme. And as CM Punk tried to do a springboard dive to the outside on Punk, and then that's when they did the meme. So this was kind of a unique move. Samoa Joe sent CM Punk through the bottom of the announce table. I didn't know the announce table was made of solid solid wood, so you can break that now, and that busted CM Punk open. So that's kind of interesting. And then you had CM Punk doing a John Cena comeback because I guess he's one of his best rivals, I guess. And then before he could do the 5-knuckle shuffle to pander to all the UK fans, he stopped short and instead did a Hulk Hogan leg drop, which led to Samoa Joe hulking up, brother, because that wasn't going to work for me, brother. But in the end, Samoa Joe tried to do the muscle buster, but Punk countered it into a top rope Pepsi plunge, which looked like a pedigree to me. So he retained the real world championship. And yeah, I initially wondered if this was going to lead to CM Punk challenging whoever was going to win the main event of the night to a unification match at All Out. But, you know, clearly with all the, once again, drama that's going on backstage with Punk and now Jack Perry, it looks like that's not going to happen at All Out. So our second matchup of the night, we had the Golden Elite. Oh, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, get your golden whatever you got in your beds. It's Kota Ibushi. He's teaming up with Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page going up against Bullet Club Gold and Konosuke Takeshita. Yeah, take a shit. This looked basically like, what was it? The NWO Silver going up against NWO Wolfpack. It's just the lamer version of that. So I was so bored of this match. Like, it was basically your typical flips, kicks, all your bullshit kind of match. And it's honestly pretty hard to get invested in a match where there's not much of a story involved. And yeah, I'll admit to myself, like, even when looking at the video package, and, you know, kudos to AEW for at least showing a video package, but even the video package didn't show that, yeah, there's no story. It's just like Don Callis trying to get rid of Kenny Omega from his life forever. Like, that's it. That's all. What's the point? Where's do you have any more story layers there? So there wasn't really a lot going on in this match other than your typical spot orgies. But I guess Hangman and Adam Page and Kota Ibushi, you know, took turns on hot tags, beating up on Jay White. And then the Guns, Colton and Austin, I don't know why they were there, helping out Bullet Club Gold and take a shit. But Adam Page, you know, took them out with the moonsault. And then everyone was hitting a bunch of moves on each other in the ring because, you know, you had to have that in your standard AEW 6-man tag. I mean, WWE does that too, by the way. And then when it came down to Kenny Omega, he hit a bunch of V-trigger knees on both Jay White and Juice Robinson. But then when he was about to go for the one-winged angel on one of those guys, Takeshita used the deadly fruit roll-up. Yeah, he used a fruit roll-up from behind to steal the win for his team. So, wow. I mean, I think the finish was not bad. I mean, it certainly created a a pin drop. There's like everyone was so excited for Kenny Omega to win the match. Like, oh, my beautiful Kenny. And then suddenly out of nowhere, this take a shit guy, he used the deadly fruit roll up like it was an applesauce blueberry flavor, and steals the win. And everyone just goes dead silent. Like they just got their golden candy, their golden ticket from Willy Wonka taken away from them. So now it's official that there's going to be a singles match between Omega and Takeshita at All Out. So at least they're following that up per se. So I mean, at least there's some story continuation. I'll give credit to AEW for that. But for this match, I did not like it. It was your usual, let's try to put in as much spots as possible kind of match. So our third matchup of the night, we had the AEW World Tag Team titles on the line as FTR, Dax Hardwood, and Cash Wheeler defended the titles against the Bucks of Suck, Matt and Nick Jackson. This was basically the third matchup between these two teams where FTR would challenge the Bucks of Suck to a rubber match, with the series tied at 1 apiece. I don't know why they did this match, but hey, you gotta have something on the card, right? So the Bucks first beat them at Full Gear in 2020 when the pandemic was still a thing, and then you had FTR beating them on an episode of Dynamite back last year. So yeah, you just had to settle the score, I guess. So I mean, this was just about expected from your usual Bucks of Suck match. I mean, when, for example, both teams, sure, they were even with one another. The FTR was trying to use like actual wrestling on the Bucks, but you had the Bucks take control and then use some of their stupid ass flippy offense on Cash Wheeler for nearly half the match. But then you had the pace quicken kind of quickly as the two teams they trade spike pile drivers on each other for like near falls, and then there's a little bit of a story element here where the Bucks kept miscommunicating with each other, like on a kick by Matt to Nick that allowed a hot tag, and then the Bucks trying to go for the BTE trigger, but they hit their knees on one another, and then that allowed FTR to hit the BTE against them. And then, yeah, I don't know, man. It was like your usual match with a lot of near falls. But the finish saw the Bucks try to go for the Meltzer driver, but Cash escaped out of it, and FTR caught Nick midair to hit the Shatter Machine to retain the tag team titles. So all I can say is that, the super kick orgy was light. I'll give it that. But the insane amount of near falls, the insane amount of flips were still present for no damn reason. But I did like the finish. I liked the finish though with the mid-air Shatter Machine. I thought that was a pretty cool spot. I thought they were gonna hit the Meltzer driver, but then I think it was Cash Wheeler that came in like out of nowhere after being like thrown out of the ring, and then he saved. I think it was Dax Hardwood. And then, yeah, they caught Nick Jackson like midair. So that was pretty cool. But I was entertained by Jim Ross, who throughout the whole match, he was just giving smart ass and sarcastic commentary on how great both of these teams were. And it's like, you know how you feel, JR. You know how you felt. Like, it's okay. It's okay to let your dirty laundry out. It's okay. It's all right. So our fourth matchup of the evening in London, we had the third ever Stadium Stampede match. And the participants were the team of Eddie Kingston, Orange Cassidy, The Best Friends, Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta, and Penta El Zero Miedo, going up against the Blackpool Combat Club's John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, formerly known as Cesaro, Wheeler Utah Useless, and Santana and Ortiz. We haven't seen them in a while. And a Stadium Stampede match. Originally, this matchup was supposed to feature Rey Fenix, Penta's partner, but he was removed due to, I think it was travel issues or an injury, but he was written off on the AEW Dynamite episode prior to All In. So this was actually the first Stadium Stampede match since the 2021 Double or Nothing. So it's been over 2 years since we last saw this match type. So it'd be interesting how creative they could get for this one. I mean, we've seen the kind of spiritual successor with Anarchy in the Arena with mixed results. So maybe they can get a little bit more creative with Stadium Stampede in Wembley. So there was a lot, obviously, there was a lot going on in this match. So I tried to narrow it down to the crazier stuff that went on in this match. I mean, obviously, you start things off with Eddie Kingston just like bone rushing the ring to start things off. And, well, from there, it was just all chaos. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a Jon Moxley match without him bleeding like literally just 5 minutes into the match. And that's exactly what happened. And when you had Jon Moxley in the ring, he emptied out a bag full of skewers. Like, what were you going to do? Cook some damn barbecue in the ring in front of 80,000 people in Wembley? But instead, the skewers were used against him because Penta stabbed him in the forehead like he was some king. Like he looked like some damn king or something. And instead of like Jon Moxley cooking some damn barbecue, it was some barbecue chicken alert. It was barbecue chicken alert. Oh man, I got skewers stuck in my head. Oh man, that looks so gruesome. I mean, it looked kind of cringe because I don't know, that visual of him having all the skewers like stuck in his forehead, like getting stabbed in his forehead. It's like, oh man, dude, that's just no. I don't know, man. I didn't want to. I'm not gonna say I almost threw up because obviously I didn't, but it just man. Jon Moxley gotta chill on that stuff. It's like every week he does this kind of thing. Like at some point, it's gonna affect you long term. It really is. So anyway, Moxley, who is pretty much the central point of this match, by the way, he continued his love for blood. He made Orange Cassidy bleed with a fork that he keistered up his ass. No joke. He just suddenly had a fork that he pulled out his ass. And then he wrapped up Trent Beretta in barbed wire. So he's pretty much going out to make everyone bleed. You notice throughout this match that Cesaro didn't bleed. Wheeler Useless didn't bleed. It's like, why weren't those guys allowed to bleed? Why didn't the opposition make them bleed? Like, I don't know. Fucking marks. So then much later on in the match, Sue, who is apparently the mom of Best Friends or something, came in her signature white van and gave her sons some weapons to fight back against the BBC on stage. And then Penta later came out. I don't know how or why he disappeared early in the match. So he's dressed in red now, and he looked to put Santana through two tables near the staging area. But then when they were fighting on the ladder, the ladder like broke because Penta was standing on the wrong side of the side of the ladder that you normally don't stand on. Like, you know, where it says don't stand on this side of the ladder. Yeah. You're not supposed to stand there. You know, speaking of the ladders, it's like, it looks like they got those ladders from like a Home Depot or something. They just spray painted it black. It's like these were very cheap ladders. But anyway, they eventually did the spot by way of a sunset flip powerbomb. And then Trent Beretta back in the ring, you know, he superplexed Ortiz through a table outside while Claudio or Cesaro did the giant swing on Orange Cassidy at the same time that was happening. And then Moxley, you know, as Orange Cassidy was gearing up for a broken glass-filled orange punch or the Superman punch, but he received a swirling DDT onto the remains of that broken glass from the beer bottle. And then Eddie Kingston, because he was taken out a little bit earlier, like on the upper deck level, he came back from there, I guess, and he unleashed hell on Claudio, and then he drove Jon Moxley through the barbed wire board, and then Orange Cassidy finished off Claudio Castagnoli with the Superman punch with the glass-filled hand to win the Stadium Stampede for his team. So there's a lot going on clearly during this match, and I gotta say, I thought this was solid. I thought this was, there were some wild moments, but I gotta say, just like with Anarchy in the Arena, though, they were kind of creatively limited here. I mean, sure, I don't want Eddie Kingston, for example, to, fall off like 20 feet, like off the upper deck. No, I don't want that. I don't want him to die, okay? And of course, you can't have some like Premier League soccer guy make a cameo, like a pre-recorded cameo or something, or like a live cameo. It's just not feasible. I mean, and obviously, of course, you can't have Urban Meyer there because he's not the coach of the Jaguars, even though the Jaguars play their games in London sometimes. What I mean is, like, you have to like find a way to make mostly full use of Wembley Stadium or whatever stadium you're in. If you're gonna do the Stadium Stampede, I felt like this match, it really made me feeling wanting more. There should have been at least some more spots for them to make me go, wow, this could have been like so freaking wild. But instead, it just felt like Anarchy in the Arena, and it felt like, it felt like the last two Anarchy in the Arena matches. Just felt like meh. It just felt like meh, especially with the backstory to support it. What made Stadium Stampede, both of them, so great is that you had obviously the first one, the uniqueness of it, but the second one, even though the first one topped it, the second one was pretty good too because they made use of different environments in TIAA Bank Field and introduced different elements as well, and also having that story to back it up. These kind of matches since then, it's like they're just doing it for the sake of it. So I feel like if they're gonna do this kind of matchup going forward, you gotta have some kind of story to it, like an actual story to it, and then get creative. They really gotta get creative with it if they're gonna present this in front of like 20,000 or 80,000 people. It's just, this match really left me wanting more. So next up, we had the AEW Women's World Championship match. Hikaru Shida defending her title in a four-way match against Toni Storm, England's own Saraya, formerly known as Paige, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Toni Storm lost her title to Hikaru Shida on the 200th episode of Dynamite. So Hikaru Shida, who had her first championship won during the pandemic, she kind of had a crowning moment with the fans on that 200th episode. So the next week, after she won that, a four-way match was scheduled for All In London, and the participants would be decided in a tournament. Storm received a bye, so she was automatically in after she used a rematch clause. And then Shida, since she was already scheduled to defend her title against Anna Jay, she kept her spot by beating her. And then on Rampage, Saraya or Paige beat Sky Blue, and then Britt Baker claimed the last spot by beating the Bunny. So, I mean, this match was okay. Saraya being from England, she received the hero's welcome in her home country, so that was pretty cool to see. And to top that, she was in front of 80,000 people in front of her home country, so that makes it even better for her, regardless of how me and my friend feel about her now. So anyway, this matchup was pretty much all about the dissension in the Outcasts. So Rhea and Toni Storm, initially treating this like a tag team match against Baker and Shida. But soon, dissension played a big factor when they had to pin Britt Baker early on. And that dissension continued when they tried to double team Toni Storm and Saraya tried to double team Britt Baker. But then Toni accidentally hit Saraya's, the original Saraya. She accidentally hit her. And that got Paige all pissed. She got all mad. And then just when you think there's going to be a mega powers explosion or a Jimmy Uso turning on Roman Reigns moment, the Outcast exploded, brother. Although it was kind of meh. So Saraya and Tony fought each other, and then out comes Ruby Soho for all of 20 seconds, and she gets punched by Toni Storm, and then she leaves like a fucking cameo. It's like, damn, you're there for all of 20 seconds, like, and you just get punched out. It's like, bye, bitch. So anyway, Saraya had Toni Storm locked in the Scorpion crosslock, but then Britt Baker curb stomps her to break it for a near fall, and then the finish sees Hikaru Shida hitting her katana finisher on Saraya, like Paige, but Britt Baker like instantly rolls her into the lockjaw, but she can't seem to finish the sequence by like trying to grab her actual jaw, which completes the submission. So Britt was like fighting Shida to get that submission in. So while she was doing that, Saraya sprayed the Outcast often use on Toni Storm, and she hit the Rampage, or what she calls the Nightcap DDT now, and it was too late for Britt Baker to break up the 3 count. And yeah, in her home country, Saraya is the new Women's World Champion. So I think they were trying a little too hard with the dissension stuff with Saraya and Toni Storm. And don't get me wrong, I think the Saraya winning the title in her home country is nice and all. I just don't like the fact that this women's world title is basically hot potato right now. Since Jamie Hayter pretty much lost the title because her injury back at and she had to basically drop the title because of her injury at Double or Nothing. It's gone to Toni Storm, it's gone to Hikaru Shida, and now it's gone to Saraya in just about 3 months. So Saraya, she hasn't done much of note either since returning from retirement, and her matches, it hasn't really been that much of a hit other than her return match against Britt Baker. So it's very questionable as to why Tony Khan gave her this win other than home cooking. But, I'm not that opposed to Saraya winning the title on home turf. But again, I question the booking of it. It's a nice moment, but I just question the booking of it. So next up, we had a coffin match. Darby Allin and Sting going up against Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage. So this matchup was originally supposed to feature AR Fox teaming up with Swerve Strickland, but on an episode of Dynamite before, he was kicked out of Swerve Strickland's team, the Mogul Embassy, whatever that is, after they lost a tornado tag team match to Darby Allin and his protege, Nick Wayne, whoever that is. So that brought in Christian Cage to help out Swerve Strickland. So that set up this match. So it benefited though, because hey, you had 2 young lions, roar, with Sting and Christian. So it definitely helped here. So you had some random ass rappers coming out to rap Swerve Strickland's entrance. Their names were Flash Garments and DJ Woo Kid, whoever the fuck they are. And meanwhile, for Sting and Darby Allin, they had this nice pre-entrance video package where Sting was wearing a top hat and half his Joker Sting face paint from TNA. That was pretty cool to see. And then you had them come out to Metallica's Seek and Destroy. I wasn't aware that Sting used this as one of his old WCW theme songs until now, but I'm more aware of Seek and Destroy with the San Jose Sharks hockey team, even though they're pretty bad right now. So yeah, just when you like I said early on, we were supposed to see the Young Lions roar with Sting and Christian, but damn it, Swerve Strickland, just the friggin' asshole that he is, just had to break it all up and separate Sting from Christian. Like, come on, man. We want to see Sting and Christian, not Sting get his butt whooped by Swerve Strickland. Damn you. But anyway, much later on in the match, they were about to lock Christian up in the casket, but then out came the rightful TNT champion, Luchasaurus, to stop them. So out came a vengeful Nick Wayne, who got brutalized by Swerve Strickland and weeks ago to even the score. But then he got chokeslammed on a skateboard by Luchasaurus, and then he got carried backstage. And then you never saw him again. So anyway, Sting and Darby Allin set up a coffin drop on the casket for Swerve Strickland, but then Sting, for whatever reason, left instead of helping Darby Allin complete the move. So Darby Allin, once he tried to do the coffin drop, it became a coffin flop. As Swerve moved out of the way in the last second, and then Darby lost his back. So, yeah. And then Swerve Strickland, they brought the casket to the ring. They were going to put Sting in it, but then Sting blocked the lid from closing with the bat that was provided for him by Swerve Strickland. Like, come on, man. What are we doing here? Like, come on. Swerve, don't be that stupid. So anyway, Sting and Darby Allin would win this match with Sting hitting the Scorpion Death Drop onto Swerve on the casket. And then Darby Allin finished him off by, once again, sacrificing his back, hitting a coffin drop on the bare casket. And then that knocked out Swerve and allowed them to close the lid for the win. So, I thought this match was kind of fun. Some pretty crazy spots. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention, Sting tried to put Swerve Strickland through a table early on, but damn it, that table was made of real solid steel, damn it. It didn't want to break through. So Sting had to do the spot again, and then it broke the second time. So it's like, not even the table wanted to give way for the young lion, the Stinger. But anyway, I liked how they brought in the casket. I didn't really see that before. So it was kind of like a refreshing change of pace, other than, let's just put them in, let's just try to roll them inside. So yeah, it was a pretty fun match. I just wonder what happened to that Nick Wayne guy afterwards. Did he get dragged into the shower or something? Did he get by Luchasaurus? I don't know. Maybe let's not think about those thoughts. So next matchup, we had Will Ospreay going up against Chris Jericho. I'm not sure why this match was happening, but let's just assume that this is the match with no story. So Chris Jericho announced beforehand that he was going to sing his theme song, Judas, live in front of the Wembley crowd. And I thought it was a pretty good rendition of his song that he sang for himself. I just thought that he would have sang until the second chorus. Like, after, they sang Judas in my mind, I thought it would continue from there. But I guess they could only go for like a minute and a half, I guess. So then you had Will Ospreay come out. And I gotta say, his theme song is kind of cool. This is kind of like my first time watching a Will Ospreay match. But man, it's like he took a very brutal apron German suplex spot. He landed hard on his neck. And he was like clutching his neck, not just his neck, but he was like clutching his arm. He was like shaking it. It was like, yeah, this is why you're not gonna last all that long in pro wrestling. Maybe it's just selling, but it's like, even then, it's like you're doing all these spots unnecessarily, like all these dangerous, stupid spots. But I mean, it didn't seem to affect him, as he seemed to hit like his signature offense still. Once he got back in the ring. But man, Jericho was pretty off in this match. Like, he seemed to miss the timing on a midair code breaker because he hit Ospreay's back, so he had to do it again on the ground for a near fall. And then once you get later on to the match, Jericho reversed the Stormbreaker, Will Ospreay's finisher, into the walls of Jericho, which he powered out of, despite Sammy Guevara briefly knocking him out behind the referee's back. And then Jericho hit a very sloppy Os Cutter, Will Ospreay's signature move, for a near fall. Like, he hit the Os Cutter, but he landed on his back before he completed finishing the move. And then, yeah, he hit Judas Effect for another near fall. But in the end, Will Ospreay hit the Hidden Blade and the Stormbreaker finisher on Jericho to win the match. So clearly, as the match progressed, Ospreay outclassed and outpaced Jericho. I mean, granted, Jericho is much older than Ospreay, but it is just like Jericho could not slow him down, like, at all. is like, I mean, I respect that what Jericho has done, but it's just like, dude, like, it's not what you should be doing. Like against guys that are clearly outpacing you. But I mean, it's like these guys that are often relying on like all these indie spots, all these gimmickless, like unnecessary risks, and yet, yeah, you're telling them to slow it down, and yet you can't keep up with them. I don't know, man. I just felt like Jericho looked sloppy, botched a good amount of big moves. I mean, he hit some nice moves though sometimes, but it's just like, yeah, the sloppy ones I just can't look. They don't outweigh the good ones. But I mean, for Will Ospreay, I mean, he was decent. He was decent in this match. I mean, it was kind of just waiting for the match to end. But what they do with Chris Jericho from here, it's anyone's guess. Because, well, I mean, he did push away Sammy Guevara after the match, so maybe they slowly burn towards a feud between the two. I don't know. Either way, Will Ospreay is your winner between him and Chris Jericho. So they, like I said, they announced the attendance for All In. After this, Nigel McGuinness was in the ring to announce the official attendance for the night, and it was 81,035 fans. Which they claimed was a new worldwide paid attendance record for pro wrestling, for a pro wrestling event. So, I mean, make that for what you will. I'm not going to get into that whole debate on paid versus distributed, but I mean, they were showing a good amount of tarps. They're showing a good amount of closed sections, closed seats, like very openly. Every time they kept cutting through the crowd, every time they kept doing panning shots. Wide shots. So, I mean, again, good for them that they managed to get that many amount of fans there. Granted, they're not casual fans or like, non-wrestling fans there. So we'll see if that number holds up. So next up, before the main event, we had the AEW Trios titles on the line. The House of Black, Malachi, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King taking on the Acclaimed, Max Caster, Anthony Bowens, and badass Billy Gunn. The Acclaimed, they had been climbing the Trios division since back in late March. But when these two teams first faced off, back at Double or Nothing, the House of Black just thoroughly dominated them. And I was pretty disappointed that, the Acclaimed lost that match. And then they would lose the rematch 2 months later. And then afterwards, Billy Gunn, he was teasing retirement by leaving his boots in the ring for Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. And then 2 weeks later, before All In, the Acclaimed were just brutally beaten and bloodied by the House of Black. But then the next week, Billy Gunn returned to set up this trios match, the 3 match between them and the Acclaimed. So, yeah, I was hoping this time around that the Acclaimed finally get the win. I just was hoping that they didn't get swept, just like Jey Uso did. Don't pull a Jey Uso on the Acclaimed. So anyway, the House of Black, they hit a nice tribute to Bray Wyatt, with the lantern and the fireflies by the fans. I thought that was a very touching tribute to them. Meanwhile, you had Max Caster and the Acclaimed come out. Everyone was all excited for the Acclaimed because, everybody loves the Acclaimed. So for his rap, there were a lot of things I really didn't understand in this one. But still, he threw in a Harry Potter reference in there. So that was something. But there would unfortunately be no scissoring of the daddy ass as, badass Billy Gunn was on the scene. And unlike the last 2 matches where the Acclaimed rejected the wild card rule as traditionary of the House of Black's house rules, where the opponent could pick the stipulation, they decided to elect it this time by picking the stipulation of no holds barred. Now, they could have done something different, like ladder or TLC or, I don't know, cage match or something like that. But, this was not bad. No holds barred match was not bad. And things, as expected, got chaotic pretty early on. Billy Gunn, he tried to do a dive out of the ring, but he was often stopped by all the members of the House of Black, which included Julia Hart. So Julia actually got in the ring while the Acclaimed and the House of Black were getting beat up by the rest of the House of Black. She slapped Billy Gunn, and that's what Billy Gunn decided to do. Rather than just take it like, you know, how in WWE the men just have to take it for Rhea Ripley. Billy Gunn, because, you know, taking it back to his DX days, she wants her to suck it. Or I think she said, suck my dick. And then she put her down. And then what? Oh man, this was great. It was great. And then Max Caster came in, helped him out, and then in came Anthony Bowens. And then Scissor Timbers. Anthony Bowens and the Acclaimed scissored Julia Hart in front of 80,000 people. It was awesome. It was the greatest scissoring ever. They gave. It was awesome. It was so damn good. It's like when I first saw that, I couldn't contain myself for like a good 5 minutes. It's like I had to go outside. I had to like calm down because it was that damn hilarious. It's like it's one thing that Anthony Rose does the scissor me timbers to dudes, but then he actually because he's, you know, he's gay in real life. Now he does it too, Julia. That was awesome. That was so awesome. Oh my god. So like, forget all these sensitive like bitches out there that think, oh, this wasn't cool. This was why'd they do this spot? This was great. This was funny as hell. So fuck all y'all that thinks this was a bad spot. This was funny. This is common. This fit with their gimmick. So, oh man, we still have this rest of this match to talk about. Anyway, let me try to contain myself because, oh man. Anyway, later on in the match, you know, Brody King tried to use the chain that the House of Black used to bleed out Max Caster 2 weeks ago. This time they were gonna use it on Anthony Bowens, but he accidentally hit his partner Malachi Black. So the Acclaimed hit a trio of Famousers on Buddy Matthews, but then Julia Hart seemingly recovered from the scissoring. You know she liked that. She received, and she pulled Aubrey Edwards out to stop the count. And then Malachi Black, you know, hit the black mass on Billy Gunn. And just when you thought, like, damn it, they're gonna get the clean sweep. They're gonna pull a Roman Reigns on Jey Uso, aren't they? So they're gonna get the clean sweep, but then Billy Gunn, to the delight of the London crowd, he kicked out. The daddy ass had some life in him. And then after knocking out Malachi, after knocking out Buddy, the Acclaimed took out Brody with their best shots. The Famouser, the Arrival twice, and then a second mic drop from Max Caster. 1, 2, 3. The Acclaimed are finally back as champions. The new trios tag team champions. So they were awarded the titles by the House of Black. Seemingly, you know, they got some of their respect. And then the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn went on to have as Anthony Bowens promised, the biggest scissoring party on earth. Oh, and by the way, they randomly cut to Mercedes Moné, who was in attendance for some damn reason, but that's besides the point. The Acclaimed back on top. And I gotta say, this match was so fun. This match was like fun as hell. And that's just not me being biased towards the Acclaim, but this, I know I was upset, like, with the Acclaimed losing at Double or Nothing, and disappointed that they lost at Collision. But I guess they were just saving it for the bigger moment at All In. And this was it. Even if the heat and the popularity, you know, it's not what it once was, for Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. Hey, along with the many others, I still rock with the Acclaimed. I still love the Acclaimed. I still like their shtick, except for the scissoring stuff. I mean, it's just do it because I was like excited as all hell. Because Max Caster's mic work is good. Anthony Bowens, he brings out a lot of energy and charisma. And then you have a veteran like Daddy Ass, Billy Gunn, to like kind of be like their mentor towards for them. This trios match was fun, and provided perhaps one of the funniest moments of the night and one of my favorite AEW moments. If they're like the very few, this was one of them. That was awesome. That was like so unexpected and so awesome. And this is just a very nice payoff to a story that started back in April. And yeah, the Acclaimed are back on top as trios champions. Like very, very deserved, very earned. And I know some people wanted the House of Black to retain, but honestly, like, they were getting stale, as champions. And sure, people are saying, oh, what about their story? I mean, they could certainly do it without the titles. Maybe they can like rebuild themselves up, and then if they want to get it back from the Acclaimed or wherever the trios champions are, maybe they can do that. But either way, the bigger story was the Acclaimed finally gained the trios titles for Billy Gunn. So very happy, very, very happy. So now you have your main event of All In London 2023, Wembley Stadium, AEW's biggest event. The World Championship on the line. Maxwell Jacob Friedman going up against Adam Cole. The two already competed earlier on in the night, winning the Ring of Honor tag team titles, and now they're in the main event competing as opponents. So yeah, this is definitely big. Regardless how you feel about AEW, this is kind of a big deal for them. Nobody expected Adam Cole to be in the main event of any particular like major stadium event. And regardless of my feelings about Adam Cole, I still think he's kind of like not atypical, not really typical wrestler. I think with this story with MJF, he shows that with some character development, hey, he's not bad. I think he can be likable. And then obviously MJF with this new babyface run, it really has grown on me. So now we get to this match, and it's clear, things, are initially friendly. They even like go under the ring and grab their tag team shirts that they're wearing. They're better than you, baby. Then, they wear it. They get friendly with one another. But then MJF pokes Adam Cole in the eye, and then Cole slaps him back, and then it gets more heated. So it becomes clear later throughout the match that Cole is playing the heel. He's playing the villain, because the more the match goes on, people are cheering for MJF like even louder. So Cole has to play the heel. He gets more aggressive, and then he even tears off MJF's shirt while MJF was still like trying to go through, try to pander through the crowd, and trying to be like friendly towards Adam Cole. You even had MJF going through a babyface comeback, like trying to rally, and while he initially, again, still hesitant, trying to do a suicide dive, he got encouraged by the crowd, and he actually did it. He actually did it, and he was so surprised, like, wow, I did it. It was such a cool moment. So then you had this first initial like test. Like the whole story about this match was like, should I or shouldn't I in the face of friendship, because the championship was on the line, but at the same time, so was the friendship. So Adam Cole, he was getting more and more aggressive, more and more desperate to win the title. But then he would drop MJF on the steel steps with a suplex brainbuster or some kind of move. But then that knocked out MJF. So Adam Cole, he was kind of like waiting the ring for whatever reason, even though you couldn't win the title on a count out. And then MJF, he beats the 10 count. So now, once you go back to the outside, and then MJF looked like he was going to hit a tombstone pile driver on Cole on the announce table, but then he lets go of Adam Cole, and he's like, I can't do. Like, he initially thinks I have to do this for the championship, but then he just drops him, and it's like, no, I don't want to do it, and then that allows Adam Cole to use the tombstone against him. He does it, but then he only gets a near fall. So yeah, it's like this match has pretty much become like a should I or shouldn't I kind of thing between both guys. It's like a big test of like what who's gonna turn, who's gonna make that big turn on the other, and then just when you think the match is gonna get real interesting, it suddenly ends. They call for the double clothesline, and then they hit it on each other, and that knocks both of them out. And the referee, Rice Bungver, whatever its name is, he counts them both into a draw. So Justin Roberts says this match is a draw, and just like how things ended the first time, Adam Cole once again asks, no, I want 5 more minutes. But MJF says no. But he says no because 5 more minutes isn't enough for a fucking winner at Wembley. So they're going to go until there's a definitive winner. So MJF actually wants to go until there's a definitive winner. So the match restarts, and then you have MJF and Adam Cole playing hot potato with the chair. MJF brought to the ring, and then they both tried to do their best Eddie Guerrero impersonation. And I think MJF nearly pulled it off. It's like MJF, he wrapped the steel chair in his head, and he just laid down. And then Adam Cole's just like, what the fuck? What do I do? And then the ref almost disqualified him. It's like, no, I didn't do that. He did that. And then he got fruit rolled up for a near fall. That was cool. That was honestly good. That was actually pretty solid acting from MJF. I like that. So the referee was knocked out again by Adam Cole. And then MJF, he grabbed the dynamite ring he had in his trunks. But then just when he thought he was going to use it, he was going to turn. He can't do it. Once again, that conflict that MJF has. He's like, that inner devil in him wants him to do it, but he can't bring himself to do it. But then the match takes its real first turn when Roderick Strong, Adam Cole's undisputed era friend, appeared and kicked MJF in the dick. And Adam Cole hits the Panama Sunrise in the last shot knee, his bare knee. But, the referee, still trying to wake up, takes his sweet time, and that allows MJF to kick out. So, if the referee was come to, and Adam Cole probably would have won. So, Roderick Strong, he told Adam Cole to hit MJF with the AEW World title because he was his friend, not MJF. So, Adam Cole, he looked ready to do so. He was ready to hit his supposed new friend with the AEW World title. But with MJF, he can't do it. He threw out the belt, and then he told Roderick Strong to go away. And then while Adam Cole won the moral battle, he lost the war at hand because MJF used the deadly fruit roll-up, tasty, full of, let's use strawberries, to retain the AEW title in the main event of All In London. So, yeah, MJF is still your AEW World Champion. And then, I thought this match, some people may call it overbooked and not enough action. But I got to say, this was one of my favorite AEW matches when it's all said and done. Because what is very important about this match was the story going in. And yeah, it's like, even though it's like a 2-month story, but this was one of AEW's, I gotta say it, I gotta admit it, this is perhaps one of their strongest told stories, like, that they're doing a very good job of. I'll give credit where credit is due with this story. A story told back in June, both Adam Cole and MJF, developing this crazy yet strange friendship that actually has turned MJF into a legit babyface. So, as such, when MJF, hold the title match, you knew there's either one or the other was going to turn. And then this match brought a lot of those dramatic elements into play. It put the new friendship to the biggest test yet, especially, when you had Roderick Strong come into play, warning Adam Cole beforehand that he's going to turn on you. And then, MJF also having that sign that maybe Adam Cole's going to turn on me too. So, yeah, this was like a very interesting match. Sure, you could call it, and some of it overbooked. I mean, hell, I'm willing to admit that the Bloodline thing's a little bit overbooked, some Roman's matches. But what made this like really, really good for me was that all the story elements in this match, and yeah, like the action, like some people say the action, but it was all about the beginning, middle, and end, and all the conflict involved. That, yeah, I thought this match was really enjoyable. Was like a nice and really nice adventure when it was all said and done. And then you had the post match. MJF, he tried to comfort Cole, telling him that, despite the result, they're still friends. They still loved you. The fans still loved you. They're still Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. But Cole was just mad. He didn't care about that. He even threw away the belts. And then MJF, he got angry. He was mad that Cole didn't. He assumed that Cole didn't care about their friendship. It's kind of like a mirror image of last month's ending to Collision, where they lost the tag team title opportunity to FTR, where MJF, or where Adam Cole put MJF's loyalty to the test after he knew that once they lost, Cole was going to turn on him. But this time around, MJF put Cole's loyalty to the test after he accused him of caring more about the world title than their friendship. So he like legit threw the belt, his world title, at Adam Cole and told him to just do it. Just do it. I'm so stupid. And yeah, he was ready for Adam Cole to turn on him. And Roger Strong came back and told him to do it. Do it. I'm your best friend. And then Adam Cole was ready to strike, but just like MJF, he can't will himself to do it. And then once MJF heard the belt drop, he knew that Adam Cole was his true friend. And then they hugged it out. And then the confetti rained. And the confetti fell as, All In London came to a close. So yeah, there was no heel turn by either one of them. It would have made an interesting ending if one of them turned, more specifically Adam Cole. But I think having no turn, I think it's fine. I think it'll make things a little bit more interesting down the road. Granted, they don't drag it out too long. So yeah, I just wonder though what they have planned following this ending of them, standing on top, them celebrating, still all friendly, and Adam Cole actually not turning on MJF, or the other MJF not turning on Adam Cole. So it's going to be interesting eventually down the line who backstabs the other. So I guess it creates even more intrigue. So it actually makes you kind of glad that they didn't rush into the heel turn. So I will say though that I really don't hope that MJF goes back to being a heel, because like I said countless times that I like to see him go on a longer babyface run. It's something different. It's something fresh. I mean, maybe once the whole thing with Adam Cole is over with, maybe get rid of the get rid of the corniness, and then show a little bit more, have that balance of your face and heel gimmick, some aspects from your heel gimmick, and try to incorporate that into your face gimmick. But either way, I would like to see a much longer face run from MJF. I mean, I believe he could play both. I really think he could play both, because we've seen so much of MJF as a heel now that I think it's time to have him go on a longer babyface run. So, yeah, MJF is still your AEW World Champion when it was all said and done. So overall, All In 2023 in Wembley Stadium, for the build-up or lack thereof, for pretty much only one or two matches, I thought the show was, I thought it was okay. I thought it was kind of solid. There were some good matches on this show, like the Trios title match, the main event, and the Ring of Honor Tag Team title match that was tied into the main event, the Coffin match. There were some good matches on this show. But everything else, I just didn't really care for it. I was like bored by it, and it was just meh. Overall, I'd say All In 2023, it was a fine solid show. At least one of the more enjoyable, one of the more watchable shows from AEW than in the last year or so. And I will say this about All In 2023. AEW took a chance on themselves. Again, regardless of how you feel about them, whether it's good or bad, I have to give credit where it's due. They got themselves 8,000 fans. They took a chance, with all the detractors, all the criticism, and all the fanboys. They took a big chance. They took a big gamble on themselves and did the stadium show in Wembley. And I think they even paid for everything, just about everything, for Wembley. And, it kind of paid off for them. Regardless of, the paid versus distributed debate, we kind of have to give credit where it's due for them, with having that kind of fan support, even though it's kind of a hardcore, smarky kind of fan support. But hey, they did it. It's kind of a historic day for them, but it's something that you kind of can't discredit. So they're apparently going to run it back next year at Wembley. So I don't mind that, but please to God, since you're going to run it back in London again next year with All In, get rid of All Out. You have to get rid of All Out. It's way too overkill to do both All In and All Out within the span of a week. Or if you're going to do All Out, you gotta at least push it to another couple of weeks, because look at right now, you don't have any build. You don't you have matches on there, but little to no stories, little to no build up towards it. It's like All Out feels like an episode of Dynamite. Like pretty much most of these pay-per-views feel like episodes of Dynamite, just longer with no commercial breaks. It's like, but more specifically, this one is an episode of Dynamite. It maybe even an episode of Rampage. And Rampage is garbage. Nobody watches Rampage. So, I don't know, man. It's just like, you've proven that you can't build up two shows that are a week apart from each other. You proved it. So, since you're going to do All In next year in London, you got to dump All Out. You have to. Or again, my second alternative was delay it to a few weeks later. You have to do something with All Out. You either have to get rid of it or push it a couple weeks later. Doing it within the same time frame, like treating it like 2 nights of WrestleMania or Wrestle Kingdom, whatever, within a week's time span, is overkill. That is way too overkill, especially considering that these shows are like nearly 4 hours. They're nearly 4 to 5 hours. And this is going to be like a combined 8 hours if we're keeping track of like 2-night WrestleManias. That is too long. That is too long. I mean, let's face it. I'm more willing to watch a Super Bowl. I'm more willing to watch an NFL game than watching most AEW events and sometimes even WWE events. It's like, it's just too long. It's really too long. It's really too long. But regardless, my feelings, they're doing All In at Wembley again next year, and hopefully next year, that time around, they do a better job of building up their card, well in advance. And so more people can be better prepared to what to expect. And again, congrats to them for their first real stadium show. All in 2023. Like I said, solid show. Solid show. So anyway, those are my thoughts on All In 2023 in London, in Wembley Stadium. Whether you watch the highlights of them or watch the full show or just random snippets of it, I'd like to know your thoughts on all the matches or whatever matches you watch from this AEW big show in the comments on YouTube, or you can send me a DM on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna with your takes on All In 2023. But anyway, that is it for this episode of Very Cold Lasagna. I am your host, DylanLasagna. Thank you for tuning in to episode 160 of this icy yet spicy sports podcast. And as always, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And until next time, peace out.